common sense collide. Starring the CryptoKeeper and BlockchainCrusader. Welcome to Debate Crypto. Crypto fam, it's your boy CryptoKeeper, and as always, BlockchainCrusader. And you know what? CVO, you are on here every Thursday now. So, and as always, the one and only CVO Crypto. Ladies and gents, you can see I've got a little bit of different backdrop behind me. I was kind of going for the, the podcast chill on the couch scene, but I got to tell you, it's kind of a pain in the butt to flip everything around. So I don't know how long I'm going to keep it like this.
I'm feeling it, bro.
Yeah, I'm feeling it right now, but the couch is a little bigger. I need some arm candy here. I need ETH. I need ETH, like an ETH, like a ETH teddy bear or something right here. But yeah, so just as a reminder, guys, it's getting close to December 23rd. We're giving away that $5. Yeah, it's literally next week. So if you are not subscribed yet, you are wrong. You should be subscribed. Fix it, right? $500. All you got to do is be subscribed. Also, make sure if you're looking to get into some TA stuff, follow CVO. All of his info is down in the descriptions below, so check that out. And then, as always, smash the likes. That's the simple thing to do. Let's YouTube world let us know, or let's YouTube world know that you guys love us. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Actually, Miguelito, I don't have the market up. Why don't you pull it up so that I don't have to move away from my comfortable spot here on the empty couch. All right.
That would have been nice.
Give us a little rundown on the market watch, would you? And then we'll jump into the TA.
Before that, John C needs to know if you're in your undies on that couch or not.
Hey, listen, I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Let me bring this up.
Miguel's never been on CoinMarketCap before, so he's having trouble.
I have
what's
100
the wind?
million tabs open.
What's the wind I'm hearing right now?
It's pretty windy. I don't know what it is.
Oh, it's my fan. Hold up.
Yeah, well, you need to absolutely can that craziness because it is loud.
Oh,
I thought that was you just breathing on the couch, picturing an Ethereum teddy bear.
Oh, Miguel's got a freaking airplane, got a helicopter flying overhead.
Dude, I live in Miami, so I gotta keep this like under 50 degrees inside.
I feel for you, bro.
I don't melt out here.
I do. I feel for you.
It's rough out here in the FL, man.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You're down here as well, so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm going to be down there in March, so hopefully I get to link up with you guys. That'll be nice.
It's a crisp 88, man.
Crisp 88.
Is my screen up? Can you guys see it?
Yeah. Yep.
Run us down.
Awesome. So,
red and green. Cool.
Nice Christmas colors, right? Christmas
That's
colors.
Right. That's right.
So it's a big load of honky dookie going down. Nothing exciting out here. We had a little bit of green yesterday, but that was for nothing. That was short lived. Everything is just still, not moving, at least not in the direction we're expecting. So
every time we get a little bit of a just a little bit of hopium, then all of a sudden, and listen, it's not about the short term. We always talk about that, but it feels like the last couple of days, it's like so. Yesterday we have the big, was that yesterday or 2 days ago? It's 2 days ago, the Fed meeting. Is that yesterday or 2 days ago? My days run together.
Oh, I think that was yesterday.
I think that was yesterday. We get some decent news that they're actually not going to start tapering yet, and blah, 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 and the market starts to move. And then we run into today and we start to move a little bit. And we're steady, and then we're falling back off. So I don't know. CVO, Paul, tell us what's going on, bro. What are we dealing with here? Is this going to be Chop City for the next who knows how long?
Could be, man. I mean, we're just it really is just that, right? Like it's just super. When we first took that big hit back in December 4th, I guess. So like 10 days ago, 12 days ago at this point.
Only 10 days ago, it felt like forever.
Oh, it's been a lifetime for sure. I mean, the entire drop has been since like November 9th. So, I mean, you're talking like 5-6 weeks already. So, I could pull up a chart here, but I mean, it's no different, I feel like, than we even looked at last week at this point. But It's just yeah, just tracking sideways. I think that at first a lot of many were, after we have these big pullbacks like we did, I mean 40% and realistically like 27% pretty much in just like one day. You just track sideways, man. Like as much as you want it to just kind of recover from there, it just doesn't, and you get these ups and downs, and it's just that time frame where yesterday you'll get a 10, like you said, like a 10-15% boost in everything, all coins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, and then everybody kind of holds it because they're down so much already, and then it's like, all right, well, it'll continue higher. Well, and then it just, one day later, we're back to where we were. And then tomorrow, it's kind of the same thing back and, over and over again for a couple of weeks until we kind of like break through these resistance levels and continue higher. So it's really a range trader's dream at the moment. It can go
I mean,
up,
Rob dropping knowledge. I just wanted to just throw that out there. Rob is dropping knowledge in the chat. It can go up, it can go down, or it can go sideways. I guess let me ask you, Paul. Is there anything in particular that you're looking for right now? Because I feel like I heard that it's going to be choppy. It seems to be choppy, and from my understanding, approximately right now, 70% of the market is big money, and 30% is your retail trader. So I guess my kind of where I get a little bit off, or maybe I understand it all too well, is that the 30% is what I'm guessing is very scared right now because they really just have no idea what's going on. That's the retail trader just kind of feeling uneasy. Is the big money just using this to accumulate?
Could be, man. I'm sharing my screen right now if you guys want to put it on there. But yeah, so like I was saying, we've obviously been in this downtrend now since November 9th, right? 69 all the way down, 40% pullback. The big bang obviously occurred right here, right? So that was about 28-30% almost in one day. After this first initial pull right here. So super similar to what we kind of went through over here. And if you remember, we just every single day it was like being in the bear market, right? So it was like you get this little excitement pump, and everybody is just kind of happy to see not going down anymore. Just to kind of be met by the next day, just kind of pulls back, right? So it's just ranging essentially under here. And this is a daily time frame, so these two lines right here are pretty much the levels. Like when you get above these two, like then you're Gucci. Is in the short term, I guess, coming up. Until then, really anything that comes up is it should just be that, like you're paying attention to kind of break these, and these are EMAs, so these are exponential moving averages. This blue one is the 20. So right now we're on a daily time frame. So this moving average, depending on where we're at, current time would be 20 days averaged out, right? And then this is a 55. You get these crosses going on right here. So back in July right here, we had our bearish cross, and we had a pretty substantial downside right here, and we could not break through. We finally did. And then we had a bullish cross where this blue crosses over the red. And to answer your question of what I'd be looking for, would be that, right? Like would be this bullish cross to occur on a daily time frame. We are far from that at the moment. However, I do want to point out that even when we, pretty much this was the July launch, which also we saw something very similar over here in September, where we were below these EMAs, and it was, it's very quick when you recover from them. But up until it's a very, it's just a slow grind until you do. And it's usually when everybody kind of gives up, draws away from the market a little bit. And then you see these moves higher. So right now we're pretty much in a similar situation to that, right? So we're not even anywhere near this daily 20 EMA right here. Mm-hmm. When you zoom in a bit, like, you kind of like, one thing I look for is these on the 4-hour time frame. It's kind of the same situation. So you see these EMAs on the 4-hour, we can't even get above them on here either. And this is where we're kind of like running into those resistances, right? So we hit that level, and this is just sheer EMA. This is just moving averages being resistance right here, right? There's tons of, if I could throw, the levels on here, and you could see them, as we go. But even just using just the sheer EMAs, it's just that'd be the simple, easy way to, kind of look for, to get excited when you get above both of these, start closing
What
4-hour
is that? The
candles.
20 and the 50, or what are you
This
working
is
with
the
there?
20 and the red one is the 55.
The
So
55. Okay.
we're below both of those, and we're in a bearish cross. So definite downtrend on pretty much every time frame. So
Right.
one thing that would get me pretty excited would be if we were to see this kind of cross on the four. This is a 4-hour time frame. This is small time. But if we see that cross on the 4-hour and you start closing above that, and start making higher highs, that would be pretty exciting in that sense. And then the real deal would be on the daily time frame to see one of these bullish crosses, right? Where the blue is the 20, it's going to cross over that 55. Like I said, we're far from it for now, but we're pretty much just trending in this, still in this downtrend. I know a lot of people are expecting us to go lower, which we could, right? Like, I mean, we were just kind of in that position where we could just keep breaking lower. I put this up here actually too. This was pointed out by Coins Kid, right? A YouTuber. I'm sure most other people did it too. I just wanted to give him credit because I did see him talk about it quite often. But this is known as a possible bump and run pattern. So this is, once again, daily time frame for Bitcoin. All the way, our July high or whatever, our May high, July low, a breakout, and we could be retesting, kind of back testing this level of support right here. And this is known as like an example of this. It's like known as a bump and run pattern, right? So you kind of have the same situation. You break out from that trend line, from the downtrend, essentially. You back test that previous trend line, and then you continue higher from there. So that's something that could definitely be kind of playing out right here. And this is a large time frame as well. One other, a couple other indicators here as well is we got the RSI, which is the relative strength index. We were oversold, right? So this is where we kind of come down to, and we tend to see reversals occur, similar to how when we're overbought and we see a reversal occur. We had a downtrend on here that we pretty much just broke out of right there. So another little, something to add to our, bullish idea here. And then on the MACD, we've got the daily time frame here kind of crossing bullish as well, where this blue line is coming over. So there's plenty of like indication stating that, we will probably see a reversal soon. The issue with that is it's, similar to how when we were up here, right, where we were at 65 or 67K and we get a little pull down and then we make a new high right here and then we get the reversal. So it's we're kind of in that same ballpark where, we came down to this low, we're kind of, holding here. We could definitely come back down to this trend line, 45, 44, whatever. That would freak everybody out, right? And then take off from there. So we're just pretty much at the mercy of Bitcoin right now, which is literally.
Talking about that.
Go ahead.
Talking about that reversal. Dotchin here brings up a good question, saying about the pump on the 17th. We had Tom Crown on the show on Monday, and he mentioned also the historical pattern that around after December 16th, Bitcoin historically has a pump. So basically, she's asking here, what do you think about this historical pattern, and will it repeat?
On December 17th, Tom Crown was talking about that.
Yeah, he said. Yeah, I think he said the 16th, though. Didn't he say the 16th was like?
He said the 16th, or like after the 16th, there is a run up. There's a historical pattern that always Bitcoin.
What he said, as I recall, was that the 16th was either a bottom or a top, multiple years running. December 16th, and when I asked him, basically, I didn't challenge him on it. I was just asking, like, well, what's the deal with that? He basically was just saying that it's just been a date at which that has happened. It's either been a bottom or a top. And I think he said something like 2013, 15, 17, 18, and 19. I mean, it was a bunch of years on it. I don't know if it was every year. Obviously, that's not something that you've seen, I take it.
Yeah, I mean, nothing of note. I mean, to that point, but I mean, like I said, I mean, we're in. If you had the lineup signal, not signals necessarily, but if you had the lineup indicators of like what was more probable right now, a reversal to the upside is definitely, favored
Okay.
compared, right? So when will that happen? What is today, the 16th? So is that like kind of stating that tomorrow, the next day? Yeah, I know that there's like, it's, the stock market's going to close tomorrow. So the weekend's going to come in. The weekends have been the most volatile recently. So, I mean, it just kind of depends on how that goes. But yeah, I could totally see, a big move coming over the weekend. And once again, what do we get after that? You get a gap on the CME. So then you got to deal with that the next week. And, yeah, I mean, and is this is not the last week of the month. So is this all kinds of things. It's pretty much just, I mean, any day, man, like getting over the hump of that Fed meeting yesterday, just kind of being a nothing burger and everything else that, like, as far as that goes, there's nothing major, I guess, that's like kind of hindering aside from some of the global events that are going on that I guess at this point have been going on. Right. So it's it's weird all around, because even the stock market today, S&P made a new all-time high, if I'm not mistaken. Right. So and you got New York City and a couple of the places like almost insinuating that they're going to be locking down again. And you got the stock market pumping out new all-time highs. So it's to me, I think that, it's the market is reset for sure. So, I mean, it's ready. Go down anymore, who knows? I mean, the only thing I could see it going down would be to just completely. Most people are gonna panic sell like crazy if we drop to 40K. I'll say that right now. So like 39, 40, if that showed up on the coin market cap tomorrow morning, everybody would panic sell, and that would be kind of the deal. Which, like, I don't know if we talked about this last week, but regardless, and this is one thing that even the blockchain backer, who's kind of like, the king right now, so to speak, because he's, on point with his analysis so far.
But he's called the bear market at this point, right? And
correct.
So right now we're in a bearish trend. So he's
right. But there's generally, like, going back to, I'll share my screen once again. The thing about that is that there would still be, right. So say if like this is our top, like, once again, I don't believe that is, but if this was right, you're going to see a move up, right? And this is known as the dead cat bounce or a relief rally or whatever the case, right? But you're going to see a move towards at least the 50% or the 0.61 or the 61.8, right? So the golden ratio, whatever. So from this bottom mark right here, which now we're up here, you would see a retrace to at least the 50%, which at this point would be pretty much right at the daily EMAs, right? So if we can't get above there and we get rejected and continue lower.
What's that number at? Approximately?
That is 53. Let's call it 54 almost, but 53.8. And then you got, realistically, that, for him specifically, he notes the 0.702 quite often, and that's about 59 to 60K, depending on how this is pulled up. So anyways, like, there would be a run up to those levels, right? So, which is, even if it's, if we drop down to 40, once again, this is total hypothetical right now. I don't believe that we're going to these levels by any means, but if we do get to there, it's, I wouldn't be panicked, but it would, be something it's something I guess everybody should be prepared for. Right. Yeah. But anyways, so let's just say we drop down to 40 and that makes this the new low. Those levels kind of increase a little bit. Or I guess they would decrease down to 52. But what I'm stating here is that if we would get to those levels, man, everybody would start panic selling right here, right? If we break into 39 and and change, everybody would be panic selling. And when in reality, you would want to wait for that bounce no matter what, right? So even if we're not going to bounce from here, if we do go all the way down to 39, you're going to want to wait for that bounce, because that bounce is going to at least come up to this 0.5, and that's about 52K. If we get all the way down to there and we rally up to 52. That's where anybody that's, panicked about the market or not sure or, can't handle risking the downside if we are going into a bear market, like, that's where you would really want to consider exiting. Right. So, and between there and 58, whatever that's going to look like. And that's only if we go down to 40, right now, those levels technically are 50. But
you're using historical precedents to say that we should get it, even if it does do that we will get the relief rally or the dead cat bounce, because that's how these institutions like to play it. They like to have that one extra bit, that nice big run towards the end. It gets a bunch of people back in and promotes and leaves them holding the bag, right?
Not
Pretty
necessarily. I mean,
much.
not necessarily like a historical like institute. I mean, that's just like a normal market structure, right?
Right.
You get these massive drawdowns, and just as we go up, right, you don't just go straight up, right? You get
Right.
these drawdowns. So this is considered. If we were going into an elongated bear market to the downside, this would be considered a correction to the upside, basically. Just how these are considered corrections to the downside.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
that's just because with this we've already fell 40%, so I mean it's going lower is totally possible, but more than likely you would see, if big if, once again, if this was the end in the bear market and whatever, you would see at least a rally up towards this 50% area. Maybe you get rejected from there and you continue lower, and then all in all this downtrend would end up being like 70%, something like that. You get another bounce higher, and so on and so forth, right? And
Right.
a perfect example of that is I'll just take a look at, I think this is one that Blockchain Backer brings up all the time, right? So this is 2017 when
2017, 2018.
the market topped, and same deal. So from the high to the low, right? You can see where the market recovered to before we fell, and it's essentially came right up to this 0.702, a little breach past there. Actually, we'll look at right here. First of all, you came up to the 618, then you came back down, then you actually came up and cleared this 702, couldn't break that all-time high, and that's what takes you down. So I know that's what he recommends, but what in general though, what I'm saying is that you never want to be selling at these low lows, even if for example, if we're here and we do fall a little bit lower. You want to wait for that relief rally, because it's going to happen. And generally what happens is that most people are going to sell at that exact low, because they're going to be so afraid that it's going to just continue lower. And then more than likely, if this was to become, which once again, I mean, I can't say enough. I don't think that this is the bear market by any means. I do feel we're going to continue higher, but we'll see how, obviously the market develops. But yeah, so I mean, that's what I'd be looking for, I guess, in that sense. And for anybody that's going to be panicking, if we do go a little bit lower. But as far as like the 17th or whatever you were just asking about, yeah, I would imagine we're going to get a breakout here pretty soon. I mean, there's a lot of indication, on-chain analytics. I'm sure everybody's heard, a ton about that as well. I mean, there's multiple signs kind of pointing towards just more probable to be going up, whether it's making new all-time highs or at least recovering these 50K levels.
Most of the on-chain stuff that I've been seeing has been showing the big money has been accumulating right now. Now, when I look at that though, I look at it two ways. One, the reality is if you've got a mindset like, let's say Miguel, for example, and you're looking at no matter what, like I basically, unless the numbers get incredibly inflated, I'm not going to sell. They could be looking at it and saying, hey, you know what? This is a 20-30 game and beyond. So for me, accumulating anywhere in the 40s is a freaking win, right? And so I agree with that, assuming that you're talking about someone who's not planning on taking any profits, right? And so I think some people are saying, well, look, like it's got to be going back up because these heavy hands, these whales are accumulating. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but the reality is you have people out there like Michael Saylor, and Michael Saylor has openly talked about, like, I'm never selling, and I believe him. And so for him, it's always dollar cost averaging. If he sees an opportunity, he might throw in some more, right? And so I think it's just be mindful of the fact that the whale activity isn't always as clear as it might feel or seem to be. There is other things at play. That's all I want to make sure that people understand.
Nick, I just want to say thank you for correlating me and smart money moves. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you admit that I am the better strategist when it comes to
I just
this.
threw up a little bit in my mouth, but continue. Yeah,
CVO, so I want to bring up, so in the Federal Reserve meeting, right, they mentioned that they wouldn't be raising interest rates until March of 2022 and so on. So with that being said, if that were to be true and it were to happen in March, do you think Bitcoin needs to have a parabolic top before that interest rate happens, or that interest rate kind of be calling like the top of the crypto market before we start seeing the bear market?
Man,
So to me, right, like what we've talked about this multiple times, right? Like we had like two major targets for the end of this cycle, right? Just based on previous market structures, and one of them was September, right, which has came and went, and then the other was December. Now going forward, now it's just a estimation game, right? Because now it's like, you know, there was two major factors that came into play with December and September, right? So September was the equivalent to however long from the previous halving to the last top, and you know, whatever. So it was, you know, at least projected that that could have been an area. Then December, however, has been the historical top time frame in general for both previous cycles, right? So we only have 3 to go off of, and we're living the third one right now. So those two time frames have passed, and so now we're walking into extending cycles, right? And I think that it's probably not necessarily foolish, but it's probably foolish to not accept that at this point, right? That either it's I don't believe that the market has topped, and at this point, though, too, it's one of those things where it's like I guess it goes down to personal risk at this level, right? So it's like, I'm willing to lose it all, I guess, because I've already lost it twice. So if this is the way it's going to go, then it is what it is. But you know, I've made strategic moves along the way as well. So regardless, I know that we're going to have some sort of, you know, movement here in the next few weeks, maybe a month, whatever. The thing to answer your question, right? So is March. It's interesting to me that March is the next. Is when that got pushed to, because we talked about this last time as well, that basically there's two new dates, right? And it's March and May. March and May of 2022 is kind of where everybody's focused, and the first one is heavily in March. So I would imagine we're probably going to endure a January that's very similar to October, right? And we're probably going to get this big explosive move. Maybe we track sideways the rest of this month, and you know, we get this big move, we get that, you know, that reversal that we're pretty much just waiting on. Hopefully sooner than later in that sense. But if we get that big move in January, just kind of putting an example out, it's going to spark everybody back up, just like October did, where we're going to be looking towards, you know, March, and we got all the things are going to line up. Well, I mean, these interest rates have been kicked down the road so many times that what's going to stop March coming around and it just being moved to, I mean, I know it was like originally June, and then they mentioned maybe that was coming in March, or maybe something else. But regardless, the big major targets for everything, I think that at this level, everybody's going to have to be wrong, right? With any major focus level where it's March and it's this and that, I think that everybody's going to be wrong. I think it's going to be a random time. And that's why personally, I've kind of kicked the table.
But
go ahead.
So, but outside of that, right? Outside of like what people are calling for, do you see the initial interest rate hike as a signal for the top is happening or very nearby? This, like, would you see that as a signal to, okay, guys, the crypto market is not going to do well against these interest hikes?
I think that would be too simple.
Profits.
I think it would be too simple. Paul, I want to hear your take on this, but I just think briefly that's too teed up. That's literally stepping up and saying, hey, here, I'm going to go ahead and put the ball down on the tee box for you, and everybody get ready because you're up next, right? I don't think there's any way in heck that's how that's going to play. And ultimately, I also agree with Paul too. Between now and March, I don't know if anybody's been paying attention or not, but it seems like every other week we have the same people in charge, right? That will say something, they flip-flop. It is literally like they say yes one day and no the next, and yes one day and no the next.
Well, yes, that always, the possibility always exists that they might kick it down the line one more time, right? But assuming it were to happen in March, I believe that there's enough confusion built into the market now with this extended cycle that if March comes around, right, the initial thought is exactly what you said. Oh, that's way too obvious. It's definitely not that. And then, boom, it's that, right? So that's what kind of where I was trying to get at.
Remember how we were like discussing before, like 2 months ago, right? When you know, like I said, I was entertaining even the idea of getting to these targets that I anticipated, right, by December. And the roadmap of how we were going to get there, and how it was going to be the most confusing time frame, because we're going to get these massive pullbacks, right? So originally we were looking at 80K, 80, 85, 87, whatever, somewhere in that realm was going to be that level where we saw a 30% pullback from Bitcoin. And then that was going to actually line up with blockchain backers analysis, because that was his actual target was like 85, right? And getting a 30% pullback in Bitcoin and blah blah blah, and then everybody be really freaked out and panicked, because that would line up well, which is kind of where we're at now, right? It's like you got a hot mix right now. A lot of people are nervous. The 4-year cycles and blah blah. Everything kind of lines up. What he says makes sense. He's got a case. Everybody's been panicked. This is the biggest difference about the last cycle. Like a lot of us walked into this market last cycle. So that's really all we know, right? And then you can analyze the data all you want, and that's obviously helpful. But we're living a third one at this point, and it is completely different. And the biggest difference that we've talked about every step of the way is, what is everyone focused on every step of the way? Bear market, bear market, bear market, bear market, bear market, bear market. Every pullback is this the bear market? Is this the bear market? Is this the bear market? And I think that will be the number one tool every step of the way. I truly believe we're going to see $200,000 Bitcoin. The road to get there is going to be so astronomically intense, because we're probably going to come out of this, right? If we make a new high, and we get up to 75 or whatever, like the amount of leverage that's in the market, right? The biggest thing that's been an indicator both in May and in in November was the funding rates, right? Just being completely outrageous, because everybody was expecting it to go higher. And that was one thing I paid attention to day after day after day. And it was overheated, and I saw it. I saw the bearish lever. I saw all the indicators, but I was like, you know what? That can last a while, so it probably will go to 80, right? Like thinking that's because that was our next target. It might go to 80, it might not go to 100, and we'll get a big 30% pullback, wipe out all the leverage and continue. Well, I think that we're going to deal with that consistently, right? And it could be months, man. It could be 6 months. It could be 8 months. It could be 2. I don't think that those specific dates, the March, the May, the this, the that, I don't think any of those are going to play out. I think that it's going to be completely randomized. It's going to come in, under the radar, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where it's just going to be completely, there's too much
unexpected.
There's too much awareness this time around, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And there's also too much fear. So it's like, it's a perfect storm.
People are pretty cautious.
And the second we cross into January, like I mean, we're already there. We're obviously not having that blow off top in December of this year, right? So now we're walking into completely uncharted territory, where it's the wild, wild west, right? Like it could be any day, it could be any moment. Maybe it already happened. I don't think it did, but that's where we are, right? Like there is no man, you listen to anybody and everybody, and there are some people that have had these longer targets in mind, so they're going to continue with that until those come and go, right? Like May and March, so they're probably all going to come and go. We might get up to 110 and get another 40 and 50. We've been getting the nastiest pullbacks this time around, right? We got 40%, 30%, this and that back in 2017, but we've gotten 60% pullback in summer, 40% so far, right? Could be worse, who knows? But 40% here, which is not uncalled for, not unknown, but like this is kind of where, those larger pullbacks are what triggers everybody's fear to be like, this is the bear market. This is the bear market. So say we run up to 110 or 90 or whatever the case may be, drop back down to 65 or 55, retest those levels, still making higher lows, higher highs across the way. But the amount of percentage and the amount of dollars that we come down, that's going to put the fear into everybody, right? And that's just kind of where we're at right now. In my opinion, that's how I feel like it is. And maybe I'm getting off on some weird rant here, but that's how I kind of foresee everything kind of unrolling at this point. And I think that everybody's going to be wrong. And one of the biggest things for me is that like the December timeframe, the end of the year, was not a agreed upon, not agreed, but not a well adopted like idea for this whole year, right? Like let's just say until October hit, right? October hit. And we had that huge spike, and that's when everybody was like, end of the year is it, right? Blow off top is here, that blah, 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 blah. And it was so quickly, rearranged and readjusted and all this and all that. And then obviously we got to where we are. So that's one of those things where it's like, you're going to have to be paying attention for that.
I think there's two things that I see this time that I didn't see nearly that I didn't see in 2017, 2018. And I'll tell you two things. One, a lot of people this go around have talked about, and it's been brought up, the Wyckoff accumulation, which I think is a really interesting chart. If you're into charting, and obviously, Paul, I know you are, that's been a really interesting one that I've seen on a lot of different time frames actually play out really well. And the idea behind it really makes sense. Okay. So that's one. The second thing is social media now, and I'm not talking about us being counter traded like Miguel and I were talking about the other day, or like I was talking about the other day. I'm just saying that there is this social media following is so huge. I mean, look at it. Like just the people that are on this stream, just on, on TikTok, we've probably got 160,000, followers or whatever. And then you have somebody like BitBoy who has 4 million followers on TikTok now. That happened almost overnight. You've got Altcoin Daily that has over 1 million. Now, look at it though. And here's why I think sometimes when I hear people say echo chamber, it's almost hard for it not to be. Okay. So, Paul, you've been on around the blockchain. You've talked to those people, right? I've been on around the blockchain talking to those people, right? Miguel's going to be on around the blockchain talking to those people, right?
Someday.
What I'm getting at is it is a group of people that think for themselves. However, you have to be able to admit that when you hear from enough well-educated, large spaces, right? A very similar, it has to start leaking into your thought process at least a little bit. I'm not saying it has to change your mind. I'm not saying that everyone has to think one way or the other. I'm just saying that the social media thing is so big. Twitter is so big, right? Ultimately now, it's TikTok. TikTok is so big, and there's so many experts, right? And we always talk about, like, we're not experts. We are people that have been in, Miguel's the expert of all of crypto. He's a crypto god, right? And so other than that, right, we are people that have been in the markets for enough years to say, hey, here's what we've experienced. Here's what's worked for us. Here's what we see going on. And I just see that there's so much going on in the social media realm that I feel like it has to have an effect on the overall market. It has to.
I agree. It's way different than 2017, right?
Yeah.
None of this existed in 2017. None of these content creators, none of us, and even the big ones like BitBoy, Altcoin Daily weren't around. They started in 2018, right? Right at the beginning of the bear market. So none of this huge I don't want to say bubble, but this huge sphere of crypto content that most people watch, all these same channels, just didn't exist back then. So that's definitely a big thing this time around that definitely has changed the game.
Think about, hold on, let me throw this in there. So Paul, you have the elite channel, you have your Telegram group that does really well, and you've got tons and tons of great charting and things that you're throwing out there about altcoins and this, that, and the third. I can all but guarantee you, if I polled all of your subscribers to your Telegram, I could all but guarantee you I would see a very nice commonality, let's just say, among your subscribers, right? And I don't think it's a bad thing. It's saying that, hey, you know what? We believe in this person. This person has done well, and in the grand scheme of things, we appreciate what he's doing and what he's been able to show us. And I think that goes on even a larger, grander scale as we get more and more people on some of these different social media channels, or the fact that these social media channels all start to overlap, right? I don't know. I just think it's something to be thought about that I think you don't hear that often.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too, when you think about the adoption, right? Like I was literally just watching Fox News for a second, and on the ticker screen, you got Bitcoin and Ethereum flipping through there now, like regularly, right? Like that's major. Half the things that are like just common as can be right now would have been major like 4 years ago, it was still 100% thought to be scammed up, right? By every major player, every bank, every this and that. Now you have banks, partnering or considering partnering with things like Avalanche, which is a brand new crypto, right? Like that's massive in that capacity. So, and you bring up the social media aspect and all this and all that. And it kind of just goes to show just the evolution of anything in general, right? Because it started off as $100 billion, not started off there, but the first rally or whatever first Bitcoin run, was maybe a $100-200 billion market cap by the end of it, and then dropped back down to whatever. And then the last run got up to $800 billion, which was just sheer just people who were finding that because from the basic media. You know, you didn't have too much social media on it. I mean, you kind of did, but you didn't, right? It was not like it is now, where you have like anybody and everybody can just, you know, start talking about whatever. And you had the ICOs and you had this and that. And then, you know, now it's like to get us to that next level, we got the real adoption going on all around us. You have NFTs all over the place. You have, and like you said, you have all these people that actually went through at least some, because like that was the thing for me is I can't think back to anybody who actually had went through, had been in the market at all, like crypto at all. Like
prior to,
aside from being involved in the current cycle then.
Yep.
And then, you know, one big thing back then was everybody pushing so many scams, man. Like, you know, like I said, like if I look back on the people that I can remember that I even looked to see what, you know, what they were talking about, because a lot of times it was just talking about, you know, whatever, an ICO or whatever the case may have been. I mean, they're all gone because they all probably got sued, or, you know, there were so many issues back then, you know, like now it's maybe not that bad, or, you know, everybody kind of knows the deal as far as not to push you know, too many scams, I guess. But it's crazy that like to get to $3 trillion almost, the amount of additional you know, outreach that has to kind of go into that, and obviously with the addition of TikTok and you know, even this, I mean, live streaming. I mean, would you ever imagine you'd be live streaming about crypto 4 years ago? Because I tried it. I did it in 2018, and I was like, this isn't for me, right? Like I just kind of. It wasn't. I didn't do it till later, so it's interesting to see just the complete, you know, 180 in the world. On top of that, the world events going on right now, where how many people, and this is one thing that's like, you know, we can't talk about this usually on TikTok, but I don't know if you guys are on. I don't know if you guys.
I'm not on TikTok. No, I'm not.
Okay. So somebody in my, you know, I'm in Florida. Miguel's in Florida. Where are you at, Nick?
I'm in Ohio.
Okay, so. You know, apparently like New York is like completely going through this new mandate right now and going into some sort of lockdowns or you know, instituting, I don't know, something like that. Like they're starting up some things again where it's like very similar to like March 2020, what I heard and what I like kind of seen. Some people sent me some articles, but I can't find anything on that here in Florida. Like I can't search for it. I look on it. I don't see any news aside from a mask mandate, basically. And then another gentleman in Europe is stating that, you know, they're going on complete lockdowns again and all that. And just like it's crazy to see all across the world. And then when you think about that, this is when, you know, back in March 2020, what was everybody doing? Sitting at home, thinking up new ways to make money, right? Like, you know, and it's just kind of, I don't know. It's crazy to see how everything plays into each other. So Crypto Anon says they're in New York, so maybe they'll give us some insight.
Yeah, give us some insight on what's happening over there, since you are in New York.
Like I said, I can't confirm or deny. I saw a couple articles. There are no lockdowns. Okay, so maybe that was just maybe that was just getting.
I mean, I've definitely seen videos. Right, we've seen. Look, Australia is a perfect example. Right, Australia is in lockdown. Right,
you saw what I showed you yesterday, Miguel. You saw that picture I showed you of our friends in Australia yesterday.
Yeah. There are protests. Right, there are riots going on. They do have concentration camps, right, where they're locking people up inside of. Nobody can leave the country if they're not vaccinated. So there are definitely a lot of lockdowns there. And, you know, I'm sure Europe is going to go through some level of that as well. We've seen Germany, a lot of stuff's been coming out from there. They're locking down as well. And so far, you know, we're going to see some of that stuff from the bluer states in like New York, California. So things are getting a little weird and choppy with this whole Megatron thing going on.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Nick.
I'm sorry. So kind of off of that topic, but one of the things just kind of continuing with what we've been talking about. I didn't read way into this, but I read an article and I heard some people talking about it or whatever. Did you hear about basically the tokenized S&P? And so they have they have tokenized the S&P and one other index. Okay. And when I say I'm saying that it's actually legit and on the Illuminati. Yeah. and on the market now. Without pulling it up, I don't want to give a bunch of details. There's, 60 people in here and I don't want to say this incorrectly, but I'll give you the gist. Essentially, we've talked about this before, how I said, I think the stock market is going to be 24 hours a day. It is going to be tokenized and is going to be on the blockchain. Okay. Now, that has not quite happened. But ultimately, there is a token now that is tied directly to the S&P and one other index, and it is being actively traded, which is opening. It's slowly but surely opening that door to this legacy financial system. Maybe we're all waiting for this spot ETF to come through, but I think baby steps. And I think something like this, now all of a sudden you start getting these legacy financial people in and saying, well, wait a minute, what do we really mean by we tokenized this? Well, basically, and they'll be able to explain it as, hey, it's just like an index fund. It's a basket, but basically this is tied directly to it. You can invest by buying the, you know what I mean? And basically explain it out. And all of a sudden it starts getting a little bit easier for
I don't know,
the
man. I feel like
legacy
that's
to
a bigger
grasp.
step. I feel like that's a bigger step than a spot ETF for Bitcoin, to be honest.
You're saying you think that is a bigger step?
Tokenizing the stock market.
Listen, you guys keep talking. I'm gonna pull it up.
Will definitely. I'm not saying that they're not doing it. I'm just saying,
yeah. I'm just saying I'm gonna
like
pull it up and
a
show
bigger
you.
step forward than just giving a spot ETF.
I'm pulling it up right now just so we can.
Before we get back to that, I wanted to mention, like, tonight, right? Tonight's pretty much we've all been talking about how different things are, right? Extended cycle, content creation from back to compared to 2017, right? All these different things that are happening this cycle that never happened before. So if we do, before we jump into that article, if things are so different as we were claiming it to be, CVO, do you think that we will have an 80 to 90% retracement again, or do you think that will also change and now we're only going to have maybe a 60% drop? Because if we do go into this extended cycle, whether it happens in March or it happens later in the year of 2022, right, that kind of shortens the time frame for the overall bear market that we're used to having before the next Bitcoin halving and the next blast off.
Right.
So could that also shrink the amount of percent that we're going to come down?
It depends to me, so I guess, yeah. I mean, I feel like it's one of those, like, I've been racking my brain for like last few weeks, right? So ever since we got 2-3 months ago, like I said, totally possible because of what we've seen before, not just like what you can look back on a chart, but like what we actually all three have lived through, right? Where you can remember, Tron going 150x in December, and this happening, and this happening, and in a short period of time, Bitcoin even went 4 or 5x back in the day, whatever. All those things, we lived through it. But like I said, prior to that, there's not many people I know. I think Alex from World War Bitcoin is really the only person I can think of, unless maybe Nick or you had been around from 2013 time frame. But there's nobody that
I wish.
Right. So there's nobody I know from that level. And when I kind of take a step back and I look around, right? Because I mean, there's two very dangerous sayings, right? And one is, this time is different, is very costly in a sense. But then the other saying is that this time is the same, right? And both of those have very similar meanings, but very crucial and very costly if you think about it. So it's for me to say, like, at this point, right, I have to adapt to where we are, and it's obviously different, right? So the bear market and the this and that has been very widely accepted too, right? To the point where, like I said, everyone is so afraid of the bear market, which, is 70, 80, 90%. But man, if you've been holding some of these altcoins the last few dips back in May, back here, there's several that went 70% to the downside already. I mean, I know to the downside, 20% more is not the same as going up 20%, of course. Like that's still pretty detrimental. But it's like, if you've lived through two of those already, it's not much more. It's just more lengthier of a time frame, right? So to me, I feel like it's still going to be more so of, the bottom for Bitcoin has been at least historically found on that 200-week moving average. We went over that last time.
Where is that number right now?
I was going to say, I'll share my screen real quick. So if we were to fall from where we are right now, I think that's like 20K, something like that. I'll bring it up.
But you're saying that historically,
I'll show you right now,
is the bear market bottom.
So I mean, it's not even bear market, just bottom in general, right? So I mean, from 2013, which this is the yellow line is what I'm talking about, right? So I'll take this off. But So, we didn't have it obviously back here, but if you could imagine, it was essentially from there. And you get wicks past it, right? So during
Yeah.
this day or this week, there was a few days where we probably went past it, and that could have scared some people. And don't get me wrong, this was probably a solid amount below it, like 20%. But essentially, you find the support right there, right? So over here, same thing. This was our 2018 bear market low. However, the COVID crash over here dropped us a little bit past it, but we found support there as well. So that was a 30% drop past there, but that was immediately bought up, and we basically were holding right there. So if we were to fall from where we are to now, that level is at 18,500. So if that was a bear market, if we were in the bear market right now, that would put us at 72% from the top. So, I mean, I think that that's in line regardless. Once again, I don't think this is the bear market currently. But when we get to, let's say, my target up here of 206, more than likely we're going to get, this drawn out, 50, or the EMA is going to come all the way out to here. And this is just an example, obviously, but falling from that level, and we'd probably come back down to similar levels where we're at right now, about 50K, which sounds about right. That would be the bear market low. This is an idea here only, right? But that's a 75% pullback. So 80 and 90, maybe that's off the table, but 70, I don't think that's necessarily totally unrealistic, especially because in June, I mean, we already saw a 56% pullback just in an uptrend, like in the bull market. So that'd be the only reason I would say that I would still imagine it's probably still going to be there, but I'll be looking for that level more than anything, depending on wherever it is and whenever it is. So
yeah, buddy, that's what I like to hear. See that, Nick? You're gonna be selling the bottom, bro. 47. You're selling at 42.
Check this out. All right. So let me pull over to my screen. And I actually said this a little bit wrong, so I'm glad I pulled this up. S&P index funds launched as crypto tokens. Okay. So Securitize launches tokenized index funds. 2 tokenized funds that will track S&P indices have been launched. In a blog post, Securitize, a digital asset securities company, announced partnering with S&P Dow Jones Indices to tokenize 2 of its investment indices, the cryptocurrency large cap X mega cap index and the Kensho New Economies Composite Index. While the S&P cryptocurrency large cap tracks 30 different cryptocurrencies, the S&P Kensho New Economies Fund allows investors to gain exposure to emerging technology sectors such as artificial intelligence, virtual reality, fintech, and nanotechnology. The newly launched products will be provided through Securitize's digital asset management arm, Securitize Capital, and offered to accredited investors only. In a Wednesday press release, Securitize said it used Algorand, which I think this is super bullish for Algorand, a proof of stake blockchain as the underlying network for tokenizing the funds. When asked why the team chose to launch on Algorand, Jamie Finn, co-founder and president of Securitize, told Crypto Briefing, "We have a great relationship with Algorand and issued the largest ever Reg A plus capital raise on their chain. So when we decided to launch these exclusive fund tracking, 2 of the S&P's most innovative indices, Algorand was the natural choice due to its speed and cost efficiency. This is the first time fully regulated investment products, this is what's important here. This is the first time fully regulated investment products tracking S&P index funds are being offered as tokens. In the crypto space, tokenized indices already exist, but operate outside regulatory oversight." And so I'm not going to read the rest of it, but what I'm saying is this is actually operating under the traditional side of things, right? And it's introducing the idea of tokenizing indices, and I think it's an important step towards moving us into a place where, you know what, as much as I hate to say it, at some point crypto is going to turn into a stock market-esque, situation. I think that we're always going to be, or at least for a long time to come, more volatile. And I think we're going to have a lot more projects coming off and on and off and on, and you're gone and you're gone and you're in and you've moved up, whatever. But the long and the short of it is I think it's super bullish for the entire space to see that is being accepted by the legacy system.
Interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, I kind of agree. I mean, at some point we'll probably shift over to, like that. It might not be any time, within the next 20 years, but I fully believe that we'll probably switch over to that, a full on the crypto market would be more so the stock market, and everything would kind of be wrapped up in that one global system, basically. So makes sense to kind of like segue with that.
Let's jump into the chat here, see if we got anything going on over here.
Before we jump into the chat, I mean, we got people in the chat talking about Black Swan events. Do you, CVO, are thinking about any Black Swan events in 2022? Do you think the Federal Reserve is going to blow up, or do you think we're going to have like the cyber attack that everybody keeps talking about, and destroying and blacking out the United States? What do you think?
You should look into this book. This is called The Secret Life of Real Estate and Banking by Philip J. Anderson. Anybody here, right? It's like $10-12 on Amazon, whatever. This gentleman and their whole company essentially kind of goes over the stock market cycles, right? And then the real estate market cycles. And I made I made a 3-minute, one of those 3-minute TikToks about it, and a YouTube video about this. But so Black Swan event to me, not as major as, what would consist of a Black Swan event? Because I feel like we get many all the time, right? So like, okay, COVID. So would you consider the Evergrande September, correction a Black Swan event? Because that to me is considered a Black Swan event. Would you consider the this month's Omnicron, whatever, like these smaller? Okay, so that would be to me what I would consider, Black Swan events too. That's the only reason I bring that up. So if it's like 40% market correction, stock market correction wise, it's Black Swan event, then no, I don't see anything happening that big.
40% in the stock market, it might as well be 98% in the freaking crypto space. You know what I mean? That's massive move.
Back in, I mean, what was the pullback in let's see, so 35% in the S&P on the COVID dump. So I mean, that was.
Oh yeah, but I consider the initial announcement of all of that, and just created absolute fear and panic. That made that would be considered. Yes, I absolutely agree. A cyber pandemic, I would say, like a cyber pandemic, like this absolute, some sort of a, just all of a sudden we wake up one day and all of a sudden we don't have, internet or massive, all social media is down, or like just something to where.
So the only reason, like just kind of, the three of us talking about this, people in the chat talking about this, the world that we're in right now, you would think that would make sense, right? For us to go to war next year, for us to have, I mean, for the last several years, we could say this, right? I mean, 2017, the 17 bull run of crypto, we were sweating the stock market even back then. We had death crosses coming through in January of 2017 on the S&P. Or the NASDAQ, 1 or 2. I remember that and very well. And then, like, years later, nothing ever came of it till 2020, right? So I think personally, I don't, in this, once again, opinion, right? It's worth nothing. But personally, just because you're asking me, I don't see the markets crashing major anything big until you're talking like another 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say the real estate market is usually in 20-year swings, isn't it?
It's 18, and once again, so like this book right here, which it has this little, I don't know if you guys can see the little setup back here.
Yeah.
But it kind of shows how there's two phases basically, and it's this 18-year cycle. And you essentially start over here, you get about a 7 to 10 year run up, you get a 6 month to a year pullback. And then you get to the second phase, which is essentially another 7 to 10 years, give or take. Okay. And then you got about a 3-year, I'm backwards here, but you get a 3-year, retrace, right? So that's the real estate market, which is obviously correlated somewhat through with the, stock market and everything else. And then in the Dow Jones, you have a totally separate deal with that.
Which 18 years would put it at 2026. If it actually moved, with how it had moved prior.
Right. So essentially this new cycle in real estate started in 2011, right? So 2008 was the last crash. So that was the somewhat end, but then you had the 3 years of retracement, recovery, so to speak. 2011 was the new start. So so 18 years from that puts us basically at 2029. The funny thing about that is that there's always a major in that mid-year, 6 month to a year pullback. There's always a Black Swan event that occurs, right? So note that 2008, aka 2011, was the beginning of this one. The previous cycle started in 1993. Guess what the mid-year cycle market crash 2020 to us was? It was 9/11, right? So 2009/11 came in right at that Michael.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Right at the
That makes
mid
sense.
cycle, and then in 2001 and 2008, housing market ripped, right? So
Yep.
essentially, if on something like this, an idea like this is where we're at, right? And in that time frame, you have everybody constantly being like, the market has to. When you hear everybody saying the market has to crash, which is everybody's the rhetoric, is the market has to crash. It cannot keep going up. Houses here, everywhere. I mean, they're outlandish for the prices that they're going for. You think that they're going to come down, and to me, I don't think they will, right? Until we get to the point, another 8 years, whatever, 5, 6, 7 years down the road, which is going to run us through probably another Bitcoin cycle, right? And then at that point, to me, what I see is that we're going to come into the end of this decade, 100-year anniversary from the Great Depression, and that's when everything's going to come out. Personally, that's just what I see. But
you know what? It's not going to matter at that point. The three of us on here are going to be so freaking wealthy at that point. We'll just be like passing out, just passing out Bitcoin. It'll just be, we'll make sure everybody's taking it. Okay, for everybody watching,
That's it.
I am 100% being a smart ass. I'm kidding, but ultimately,
just to clarify to everybody, that wouldn't be a thing that would be happening because Nick's
going to sell at 40K.
He would have panic sold way before that happened.
Right.
Would not make it to 2030.
Yeah. Like I said, that's just my opinion. I mean, obviously everybody's got their own, but
I'd like to remind
that's very interesting thought though. 100-year anniversary of the Great Depression. Boom, smack. Let's relive those days so we can remember what it was like.
Well, think about it.
I'd like to remind the chat though, real quick. Paul, hold on 1 second before you tell this. I just want to remind the chat of something. The Maxi in the room, Mr. Bitcoin Crusader, as he's changed his name now to. I just want to remind everyone that my cost basis in Bitcoin is lower than his. So just want to throw that out there. Okay, you may continue.
That means nothing because your profit is going to be lower than mine.
It means I got in.
Your profits are going to be because you had capital before I did, but that doesn't mean that you're going to take more profits than I will in Bitcoin.
Are you ever going to take profits in Bitcoins?
He is.
I mean,
don't let him tell you different. If it hits 200, he is.
The point. What I probably sell Bitcoin for 200K in the short term, just so I can
Paper hands.
It's not paper hands. It's just so that I can focus more on what's happening. No, it's not a panic sell. It's just so I can focus more and I can move away from my current situation. I can move.
It would be a game plan at that point, right?
But I don't know. You threw me off on what I was going to say. What I was going to say was about taking profits. Initially, you don't really have to ever take profits if you hold on long enough, right? When Bitcoin becomes that stable stock, kind of crypto market that we keep talking about, stock market,
you can just leverage
situation, and Bitcoin is so high, you don't really ever have to take profits off of that. Yeah. You can just leverage off of what it's worth.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, Rob Ward Jr. said, brings up a good point too, just kind of talking about the stock market and all the things around us. Remember the cycle of men, right? So,
I like that.
And the old saying, what is it? It's tough times make tough men make great times make weak men make tough times. And I think that's kind of the cycle we're getting to with everybody chilling in their houses and their skinny jeans and and like just but I mean real, right? Like I mean, like
100%.
We're our
You making fun of my jeans right now, bro?
Yeah. Are you wearing those or just undies? I can't tell.
I won't tell.
But yeah, no, it's gonna be wild, man. And obviously, I don't think anybody knows. We're all just trying to, speculate at the end of the day. But I've really come to the idea, man, where I look around. Like I said, I take a step back, and when the common person, but when like somebody in my family brings up an idea, I pay attention to that hard, like right now. And like one of the things is the housing market is got to crash, and a lot of people are selling their house right now for tons of money, more than it's worth, right? A couple $100,000 more, blah blah blah, and then they're moving to Florida and renting, right? So the place I live at right now, there's this places down the street, brand new condos, and they were $2,000 a month in May. And now they're going for almost 4,000 just 6 months later. People are renting them out like crazy because they're coming down with an extra 100 or 200K, right? So, because they probably think that the housing market's going to crash in a year or two, they're going to float, pay the extra money for now. They'll buy a new house. Well, if what I said earlier goes down and that housing market doesn't crash for 6 or 7 more years, everybody better get used to living with their mom and dad again, because you're gonna be priced out. Like, I mean, it's crazy. Like it's really that bad. So
let me ask you something, Paul. It's a two-part question. First part is, would you be buying any altcoins right now? Do you feel comfortable purchasing any altcoins right now?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, everything is down, like, I mean, a ridiculous amount.
Okay.
I mean, like, you know, and even from you know, we had a little bounce yesterday and everything kind of like just rebounded. So,
Okay.
I mean, everything's at whether it goes down a little bit more from here, you know, that's the thing, right? It's like, you know, you could be, I don't know, you could pull up Chainlink, for example, right? It's at $19 or $18, but it was, you know, 20, almost 30, whatever, you know, a couple weeks back, and it's down over 70% from the high of 50, like, you know, stuff like that. Like, it's just, if you can think about it like that, like all these altcoins are at decent buying levels from where their highs were. You know, are you buying the exact bottom? That's the question, right? You still got to probably stomach another 10% to the downside short term. When we were looking at Bitcoin earlier, you know, we're still just waiting. I mean, I really foresee we're going to see a move similar to July and September, where we're going to get to a point where we might slowly grind down a little bit more, back down to 45 or 40. You know, might not be 45 even, like 45.9, just enough to get everybody rattled, right? And thinking we're going lower. Thing that happens when that occurs is that a lot of traders will open up shorts, expecting to hit 42 and 43, and then you get these bear traps, right? And then that's just when the market just rips.
So is there anything in this? I'm putting you on the spot here, so tell me no if you don't want to do it. But is there anything that just for the Thursday crew, you got any? You got a little special hot take for anything that maybe you've just got your eye on that you would want to throw out there, or something you've been at least peeking at?
Let me look here. CHR Chromia looks good, right?
CHR Chromia.
And I don't know if it's true or not. I haven't vetted it, but I'm sure, because the market hasn't pumped quite yet. But there's rumor of it getting landed on Coinbase, but I don't know if that's like I said, I have not confirmed or denied that quite yet.
You don't know if that's a marketing tactic?
Yeah, that's just me trying to pump my bag. So
it's working. I mean, there's 60 people in here right now trying to fill orders.
Yeah, right. Let me see. What was another one looking good? I posted a few earlier, but I'm just running through real quick. So I got a couple more here, and I'm sure. But any other questions while I'm looking here?
Yeah. So another question would be, before we close out and stuff, do you ever foresee the whole scenario of the U.S. losing their world reserve currency, or the empire, right? Historically, all empires have fallen, all currencies have gone to zero. Do you foresee that still being a thing for the current empires, such as the United States and so on? Or do you think that we've shifted away from that and the world is so tightly controlled by whatever, the Illuminati, the whatever, that would not allow that to happen? They will not allow the United States to shift away from being number one and losing the status of having the world reserve currency.
Nicholas wants to talk to us about cloud coins. Man, you know, I do. I think that it's not going to be overnight, right? I think that you know, looking into crypto,
you do think you think.
I think that we will lose.
You think we're gonna?
I think we'll lose it. I think we'll lose it. I think that.
Okay. Whoa! Hold on a second. You think the dollar will, or you think the United States?
Let the man speak. Let the man.
I'm just making sure he clarifies.
10, 20 years from now, man, I think there will be 100%, you know, almost a global deal, right? So I don't think that we're gonna be the ruler for much longer, man. I 100% see us, you know, divvying it up. We you know, the number one thing to me was gas, right? We lost the petrodollar essentially back when the oil futures went negative last year. You know, Saudi Arabia, Russia, they came through, they cleared up a lot of, I mean, essentially we lost that right away. And in that race, you know, what is the next up and coming thing that is going to take away that power from us even more? It's electric cars, right? So gas is kind of, you know, possibly not, but I just foresee that that'll be something that kind of comes out. Disagree?
No, I was just laughing at that comment. I just put up there. He said, ask Saddam or Gaddafi, and they'll tell you.
I mean, you know why that comment is said, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, and that's just one thing. But the other thing is like looking at crypto, man, like if you really take a step back, like look at when it was created. look at who is created by, who we don't know, right? Like, I mean, I know some people say it is, and it's a team, or it could be this, or it could be that, but it's too pseudo anonymous and the most intricate design known to humankind that cannot be hacked and all this and all that. And for that to be, you know, allowed, and for the threat that it actually impedes on even just the US dollar, like it's you know, it's to me, I foresee that was totally created by the governments, crypto in general, right? And it's only allowed to do what it's allowed to do, right? Because if this was something that was a big threat, you know, the three of us, at least in America, we would not be allowed to get crypto if it was that much of a threat, because the way we would do it, no matter what or how you want to say it, we'd have to go through our credit card. Even if we went through Binance, or even if we went through this, and Chase and Visa and MasterCard would be absolutely barred from, you know, transacting with those companies. You got Coinbase here in San Francisco, you got Gemini up in New York, you got all these exchanges and all this and all that. And it's obviously not, you know, we listened to the Fed yesterday. Oh, it's not an interest to us right now, crypto. How the hell is crypto not an interest, right? Like, if you really think about it, there's no chance that that's not the top of the list unless it's supposed to be, right? So, yeah, I think that's where we're heading, man. And, you know, I think that, you know, we're going to all have all those crazy things that, you know, the
New World Order, essentially.
Yeah, the social credit score. And once again, 10, 20 years from now, right, it's just going to be the transition from, paper checks to cash to debit cards to Apple Pay to crypto. You know, it's just that transition. I just think that, you know, 10, 20 years from now, we won't even realize it's happening, but I think that that's 100% going to go down.
That's you know what?
That's not going to sleep tonight.
I hate the dollar. That's a really good point, though. You just, you know what? I've not heard anybody say that, Paul. You just said from checks to cash, or cash to checks, whichever way you want to look at that, to then all of a sudden we've got credit cards and debit cards, which is the norm, to which is
crypto, essentially.
Right, exactly. And now we have like Apple Pay. I mean, literally, if you want to buy an app, you know, and and you got to pay for it. What do I, at least with my iPhone, I open the phone, it verifies via facial recognition now, and I double click the side of the phone, and it purchases it. It's crazy to me because I don't even think about that now. But I remember when the fingerprint thing was like, bro, check out what my iPhone does, bro. Look at this. And it's like, it's got my fingerprint. Then the facial rec comes out. Now, let me tell you something scary. In my Yukon, we have a camera that I can see my daughter. We have a little camera that's on the back seat, and it points down at my daughter. My wife will sit in the back with her sometimes, and in the camera, right, the camera, if you look back, like if you look into the camera screen and my wife is looking at her phone, it literally blinks. Like, you can't see it if you're like in the car and you look. You can't see it.
That is, right?
Yes, it's literally flash verifying her facial rec that she is actually like looking at her phone and seeing that she's paying attention to what she's paying attention to.
Red, yeah.
Yes, that is freaking psycho. When my wife first saw it, she's like, "What is that?" And I said, "It's the future. It's the Matrix. It's happening." Because ultimately it is, though. I mean, it's freaking scary. It literally is actively saying, "Hey, you're here. You're still watching. You're still watching. You're still watching," and you can see it. I don't know. I think that was a really good point.
That's all it was saying.
Yeah, I know, right? And it said, they were just talking about, you know, the X, Y, and Z. I'll tell you, my wife and I were watching some bougie real estate show, and I was talking about a couple of the cars that were on there. Guess what shows up on my wife's like feed today? A Bentley stroller. Because we were talking about
what a coincidence, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not. Yeah, it's just. It's crazy. Do we have anything else in the chat before we bounce? Anything we want to touch on?
They're talking about making the frogs gay. Oh man!
We got anything else?
You got to get the joke if you know. We know that's
if you know, you know. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't see much else. As always, Paul, we appreciate you coming on, man. We do love our Thursday evenings, ladies and gents. If nobody's told you before today, we love you. We appreciate each and every one of you. Just as a friendly reminder before we get off here, there's 60 people in here, 50 people in here. Every one of you should be subscribed to the channel, because guess what? We're giving $500 away on December 23rd. Every one of you should also smash the like, and every one of you also should be subscribed. CVO's got his own channel as well. So for those of you that are our subscribers, right, make sure that you look at all the CVO stuff down below. It is in the information below, and make sure you guys are in with him as well. So Crypto fam, we love you guys. We hope you guys have a great night. And until next time, hodl.
Like it's out.
We'll see you soon.
Casting couch.